Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome, Mr. Smith's Kitchen, Brian, as always. And tonight, well, first let me tell you about the week I've had. So, as you may or may not notice, depending on when you watch my videos, it's not Wednesday, even though we're about to cook dinner, it's Thursday. This week has been shenanigans. So normally I try to shoot most of my videos on Tuesdays. I get 3 days off a week at the moment, and so that third day I try to shoot both my videos and then put them out respectively on Wednesday and Thursdays. Now, if you've already watched the video I put out this morning, I told you it was Thursday. It was actually Tuesday morning. And I wanted to get the video done before I started working on the car, which, as I mentioned in the video, we did the brakes on it, and we did the complete front braking system. We replaced lines, we replaced calipers, rotors, mounts, everything. The car's got several miles on it, like 220,000 miles on it, and we're starting to overhaul it. But in the process, I'd hurt myself, so I could not get a video out for Wednesday because I really hurt myself. I didn't go to the hospital, but I heard what sounded like a branch snap off a tree, but it was my elbow. Best guess is I had dislocated it and popped it back in all kind of at the same time while breaking a bolt loose. I'm not even sure how. I just had to be just right at the right angle to have it happen, but it hurt all the same. But as you can see, I got motion. It just is very tender and sore, and I'm limited on how much I can lift. So that being said, the Wednesday dinner video never got done. And then I got my Thursday baking video out and did some other stuff around the house today. I've been baking. I got orders that I'm filling right now. And, hold on. Oh, sorry, I had to move something. But anyhow, so I thought, well, I'll just shoot my dinner video tonight because I'm cooking anyhow, and we're doing a chicken pot pie. So, funny thing happened on the way to the kitchen. My original intro and the first part of this video didn't tape. It was actually the stuff I was doing in between. So that being said, if you're new, welcome. This isn't the normal routine of my videos, but it's been an interesting week. If you're coming back, thank you. If you don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Notification bell's right beside it. So tonight we're going to do a chicken pot pie, which is a very versatile dish. And I'm going to skip the rest of the intro just for the sake of time, but you know, it is a very versatile dish, and I took a basic recipe because I realized after almost 2 years of doing this, I have never done a chicken pot pie on here, just a turkey pot pie. But I just took a basic chicken pot pie recipe and kind of made it my own. As you can do also. You can do it quickly, you can do it slowly, you can take all day to do a chicken pot pie if you wanted to. This is kind of a quick version, but you know, with some still from scratch stuff. So anyhow, let's get down to the counter where hopefully we can start this gig and make all our dreams come true. Yeah, let's get down there and then I'll keep talking. Hold on for me 1 second. Okay, so we are down here on the counter. Well, actually at the stove and the counter. And as I always say, if you're new, you are looking at my entire kitchen. You're at the back door. 6 more inches and you're outside. But so here's what what you guys missed so far. First of all, I have a recipe. I pretty much did this at my own demise because there were some things I wanted in there I didn't see in some recipes. That's all right. So the first thing I did was put 2 tablespoons of olive oil in this pan that is hot. It's still hot, even though I got it turned off, but I'm about to warm it back up because I need to move on. In this pan, I seared up some chicken. And with that chicken, after it started to sear on some sides, on a couple sides, I threw in some corn, green beans, carrots, and peas. That's a frozen mixed vegetable. It's half a bag. And I may even end up throwing the whole bag in there. They're already cooked, so that's cool. But I also have some fresh chopped celery in here. Alright, so the only thing you've missed so far that I didn't get filmed was heating this up, putting some oil in it, searing the chicken because I wanted it seared and not boiled, which is another option. And my mixed bag of frozen vegetables and some fresh celery. That's all we've missed so far. So I got it in a bowl and I'm going to set it aside. Now the next thing we need to do while our pan's still hot in the same pan is I've got 1/3 cup of butter here, and I have grams for all this stuff too, and kilos for the chicken. I'll leave it in the description below. I've got a 1/3 cup of butter, which is roughly 5.5 tablespoons of butter, and we're just going to throw that in there and get that melted. Okay, we've got our butter going. We're down to like the last little nib of butter tab there, or tablespoon. And to this, I'm going to add, I diced up 1 small onion, even left a little bit of peel in there. I just diced it up. You can make your onion as big or small as you want. So far we've got carrots, corn, green beans, celery, and we're going to add onion to it. All right, and we're going to do this onion until it is translucent and softened. You know, not necessarily golden brown, but I mean, if that happens, that's great because we're adding flavor. What we're doing now is we're just building a flavor profile to this. All right, so we got our onions going translucent. They've got a nice golden hue to them. You know, they're not burnt, they're not done, you know, they're not sauteed. You know, just nice, soft, going translucent, and golden brown. So to this, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of just regular old black pepper. I'm sorry, 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then this right here is a spice blend called Red River Ranch. And it's kind of a southwestern spice blend. Kent Rollins, who's a fellow YouTuber and really famous, makes it. And you can find it on his website, which is just kentrollins.com. If you've never tried it, I highly recommend getting a bottle of it. We have been buying it in 2-pound packages forever. I cook with it all the time. But now that we've got those in there and moving, all those spices and well, the garlic and the Red River Ranch and the salt and pepper will do no matter what, but those get activated with oils, not with water. And then to that, I am going to add 1/3 cup, it's 46 grams total, of just regular old all-purpose flour. I'm going to sprinkle that in there, and we're going to make a roux, basically. Now with flour, I mean, you can use, I've used raw flour in dishes, and this dish didn't even tell you to actually turn it into a roux, but you want to cook your flour. You don't want to see any white left. If you don't cook it, it will you'll have a flour taste to it. I mean, it won't do any real damage or anything like that, but you know, it won't activate it, it won't cook it. You need to activate it. That's our thickener. So now that we've got that cooked, it doesn't take long. I mean, this pan's got a little bit of heat to it. The only 2 things left to add to this is 1 3/4 cups of chicken broth, all right, which we're just going to pour this in kind of slow, make it, you know, while we stir. And we're essentially making our gravy for the chicken, right? So one thing I did not mention at the beginning is you will need a 9-inch pie crust. Whether it's store-bought or homemade, that's completely up to you. Once again, how quickly do you want to do this? You can buy 2 9-inch pie crusts, one for the bottom, one for the top, and be done with it. You won't even have to fuss with it. And then we're going to add, excuse me, 1/2 cup, yeah, 2/3 cup, 150 milliliters of milk to this. You know, you could probably also use heavy cream, but I wouldn't use as much. But what we're doing is with the milk, it's thin enough, it's whole milk, but it'll help absorb that flour. Heavy cream, yeah, I would run with milk, but you could use heavy cream. But you want to, once again, the pie crust, you can buy a store-bought pie crust, use frozen vegetables instead of all fresh. Although if I had the time and the inclination, I would have used all fresh. I mean, I have canned green beans that we did ourselves, but you can still buy green beans in the store. You can buy corn, you know, you can buy carrots fresh and chop them up. You could have chopped all that up, you know, with the exception of the corn maybe, and the carrots, or the corn and the green beans, and been rocking it, really. But that's okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna stir this until it starts to thicken up, and which doesn't take long. I mean, it's starting to thicken up now. We activated that flour. So once this gets thickened up, we can move on to the final steps, really. Okay, so we've got a nice gravy. I went ahead and took it off the oven, and then I just turned it off the stovetop. I just turned on my oven, and then I'm just gonna let this cool down a little bit. Now, why are you asking, do I want it to cool down a little bit? Well, it has everything to do with our pie crust. When you're making a pie, you know, even with a pot pie, you have your bottom crust, right? Here, let me get the pie crust out, I'll show you. Hold on for me 1 second. Okay, so pie crust. You've got your bottom pie crust. We're gonna take hot stuff. Well, the chicken's probably not so hot anymore, the vegetables, and that's fine. But we're gonna put that in there. We don't want to put a hot gravy over top of this, because what's gonna happen is not only is this gonna start to melt, but then we have our upper pie crust that's gonna go on top of it, which is great. And we're gonna lay it on top of that hot, right? Well, if you do that, it's going to start to melt all over the place. We can't really, I mean, we could par bake the bottom crust and put it in the oven for a few minutes, but all that's going to do is inevitably burn your bottom crust, and your top crust will look fine. So if we just let this cool, as our vegetables and our chicken have been cooling, and that will help cool the gravy down some. Yeah, or, I mean, for that matter, we could just stick this in the fridge for a few minutes. But we want our gravy to cool down while our oven's warming up. That way we don't hurt our pie crust. Now, I've had my pie crust in the fridge. That way my top is nice and stiff to put it on there. It gives us a few extra minutes, because it's not going to be room temperature by any means. And it'll give us the ability to crimp the edges real quick, or fold the edges real quick, and get our slits cut into it before we put it in the oven. All right, well, let me let that cool down a little bit, and when I come back, maybe 10 minutes, when I come back, we'll go ahead and assemble. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. This is cooled down enough now. I went ahead and transferred it into a bowl, get it out of that cast iron. I got to thinking about it while I was off camera. That's going to take forever to cool in cast iron. So I just went ahead and stuck it in a bowl, and literally within 5 minutes, no more steam. We're at a decent temperature. Now the next thing we're going to do, one of the recipes I was looking at had said to put your chicken and your vegetables in the pan, and then, or in the pie crust, and then put the gravy over top of it. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put the gravy on top of it now and mix it up. That way I know I've got it, you know, good mix, and it doesn't have like some random set of vegetables or something underneath that didn't get touched by the gravy, although I don't know if that's possible, but it could be. You know, and then we'll just go ahead and get this mixed up right quick. Plus it'll help, you know, cool it down even further, give it a good mix, you know, all that good stuff. I mean, and there's the fruits of our labor, really. I mean, we've got maybe 15-20 minutes into this dish. You probably wouldn't even have well, I should say I've got about 15-20 minutes into it, between the little bit of stuff I had to dice up, the onions and the celery, and then us cooking it, you know, and the chicken. None of that took long. I mean, it was that's good. A breast and a half of chicken was all it was. I diced it up, diced up an onion, diced up some celery. I thawed my frozen vegetables. I did get those out, you know, earlier in the day. And then we made a roux that took like 2 minutes. So yeah, I mean, we may have 15 minutes into this. The pie crust, like I said, if you buy a pre-made one, or I like this one here, it was actually already in my freezer, so I didn't even have to make it. You know, we were in good shape. And it's still chilled, you know, ever so slightly, and that'll help cool this down a little, you know, finish cooling this down some more. But we're just gonna go ahead and pour this in, just like such. Our oven already beeped, it's at 425. I don't know if I told you a temperature earlier. We're at 425 is what we want. And we'll go ahead and get this in our pie pan. I was going to use a cast iron, but I didn't. We're overflowing with the juices. I didn't have enough pie crust to cover the whole kit and caboodle. Alright, so let's get that. Now we are stacked high on this. This is going to be interesting. It's alright. This is going to be interesting. Alright. So we are stacked high. Get that wiped off real quick. And get our top crust. That's saying something when you can grab a crust that's partially thawed and it still holds together like that. And all we're going to do is just go around and crimp our edges in. If I have one that's too long, I'll trim it off. Matter of fact, why don't I just go ahead and we'll trim it off now. Hold on for me 1 second. Shouldn't have to trim a whole lot. It's pretty well where it needs to be, but you want to fold it under. All right, you want to give yourself about a 1/2 to 3/4 inch overhang on your crust. Just like such. Okay, well I'm going to go ahead and finish getting this folded up and then we'll talk about what to do next. Okay, so we got our crust all flipped in, pressed. Good God, you'd think for as long as I've been baking things I would know these things. So there's a couple things we need to do. First thing we need to do is, well actually this could be the only thing we do, is we want to put some slits in the top, and these are vent holes. If you've never made a pie before, like a fruit pie or a pot pie, it has to be able to vent. It has to let steam burn out or it's just going to blow your top off. So I'm going to do like I do for some of my pies and just put some slits here in the center. If you've ever bought a frozen pie, pot pie, it tells you to put an X in the center with a knife or a fork. That's why. Alright, so we got that there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around with a fork and I'm just going to push these together to make sure we are really sealed. Yeah, this is kind of an old school look that goes on pies. I mean, you don't have to do anything to it. You know, flipping it over and pushing it together like we did should hold it, but this gives it a little bit of look. I've had good luck with this particular pattern. I've had bad luck with it, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so while I was doing all that, I thought to myself, you know what, I want this to look really pretty. So what I did was I took an egg real quick and I beat it up. Right, I scrambled it, added about 2 teaspoons of water to it, and now I'm just going to brush this on. And what this is going to do is it's going to give it a really nice golden color. I do this with my dessert pies, and it just makes them pop. So I thought, let's do it with this one too. So let me get this on here real quick, and then we'll get her in the oven and talk about how long to bake it for. Okay, so I got it washed. Right there is our pie, and that's called an egg wash, by the way, in case you didn't know. And I'll tell you about a couple other things about that first. But first, let's get it in the oven. And it's going to go in the middle rack, just like in most other pies. And you notice I had that on a sheet pan. That's in case it does start to bubble over. Much like an apple pie or a cherry pie or anything like that, they can and occasionally do bubble over. So I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 35 minutes. I'm going to say 35 to 40 minutes really on it. You're looking for a golden brown crust. Now that egg wash does a couple things. Let's say you had like some little cracks in your crust. That'll help close them, right? So that way it'll look like your crust is perfect even if it's not. Not that it matters because we're not professionals, right? We're just some people that like to cook and bake. But it'll help, you know, close those up. It's no different than getting your dough wet to kind of close up the cracks, which I don't really recommend, but if you do it, just do it cautiously. And it provides a nice golden brown look to it. You'll see when it comes out. But 425, 35 to 40 minutes. I'm gonna start at 35 and then take a look at it after that. Make sure you put it on a pan or put the pan below it, you know, on the bottom rack, either way. So when it gets done, we'll pop it out of the oven and take a look at it. Talk about what we need to do before we eat it. All right, I'll see you here in just a second. Okay, so the timer just went off. So we'll go ahead and let the heat out real quick. Oh, I've been keeping an eye on it. Now it ended up running 40 minutes so we could get a nice golden crust on it. I'll bring it in so you can hopefully see the lighting is not all it's cracked up to be. But there we are right there. Actually, I don't like the lighting on it at all. Let's I'll bring it to you. How's that sound? Oh. This has got a nice light golden brown color to it. I think it looks amazing. We had no drip at all. The crust did puff up a little bit, which is okay. I kind of thought it might, but it still looks absolutely gorgeous. So what do we do next? Well, next we are going to figure out how to work our camera because we're special. But next we're just going to let this cool for about 10-15 minutes. If we were to cut into it right now, it would just, everything would just fall to the open spot, which is okay because that's what pot pies do, unless you back off the gravy in them, which we like it to be like that. But it would also like melt your face. You know, if you tried to eat it, it would just, first bite, just melt your face. So we don't want to melt our faces. We don't want everything to just come rushing into everything and it to collapse into one big pot pie like you would do when you buy the frozen ones and you dump it in the bowl and cut it all up. Because, I mean, that's pretty much what we're going to do, just on a larger form with a piece. But we want it to cool. No face melting, no falling apart. So I'll be back in just 1 second, which will be 10 to 15 minutes for me. All right, hold on for me. All right, so we've let that bad boy cool for about 10-15 minutes ish. Yeah, maybe a hair longer. I cleaned up some stuff out in the dining room, and yeah, it's funny all the projects we got going between remodels and car repairs. I picked up some new customers with the bakery. Got some things going on there, which is always exciting. I absolutely love baking for people. I truly do. And then cooking and YouTube and car repair and everything else going on. The gardening's just right around the corner. I tell you, that upper crust is flaky. I'm trying to think of the best plan of attack for this. And I can tell it's still a bit on the juicy side. That is for sure. That's alright. Oh, yep, we're falling apart. And that's good. I mean, that's the way a pot pie is supposed to be, really. I believe, at any rate. So, why don't we do this instead? We will get the old spoon out. Yep, that is beautiful. I love it. Probably use a bigger piece. Oh, gorgeous. Set that right there. There is our pot pie. Just like it should be, I think. But the important thing is how does it taste? I mean, and how do you like your pot pie? That's kind of a good question, really. You know, do you like yours with the gravy or without the gravy, or you know, things like that? Because this is the way I like mine. You know, personally, So once again, I mean, it's something that you can do to make your own. If you make pot pies, do you put a bottom crust in it at all? You know, that's, you know, another thought, but I know it's blazing hot still, that's for sure. That tastes just like a chicken pot pie. I think the only thing I'd do different the next time, give me 1 second. Sorry, I let Sam out. Sam's a dog, if you didn't know. I think the only thing I would do the next time, and even then, I'm not sure I would do it just because I get at it now, is a little more salt. But other than that, that is one good pot pie. I wouldn't change a thing. Nope. As I said, maybe a shake or two of salt. 1/4 teaspoon more in the mix. Either way. But that's awesome sauce. I like it. Give this a try. Sorry for the delay this week. Let me know if you do give this a try. The whole out tonight versus tomorrow or yesterday thing is really messing with me. I hate to be off schedule. But things happen. Life gets in the way. But anyhow, try this. I don't think you'll be disappointed. You can adjust the gravy to your level, and let me know if you do. Let me know if you try it. Let me know if you do something different. Add other things. You could put broccoli and cauliflower in this for that matter, and I still think it would be an amazing pot pie. So, next week, no clue. Not a clue in the world as to what we're going to do for cooking or baking. But I don't have a whole lot going on next week. I'm going to focus mostly on the remodel and us having dinner together on Wednesdays like we normally do, and having dessert on Thursdays. So until next week, I love you. I love you very much, and I mean that with all my heart. Tell somebody else you love them and that you love them very much. It's going to make them feel a whole lot better. It may even change their whole day. It's going to make you feel a whole lot better to tell them. So until next week, I'll see you then. I love you. Bye.